Restore Rising. Good morning, I hope everyone's well today. Thank you for watching as always. Restore Britain has put out a poll yesterday and it shows a very quick exponential growth up to 9% in a commissioned poll that they've had. Here's the poll, 9%. And this is telling because Restore Britain have only been a political party for a little over 2 months. And this is unheard of in British politics that a new party can get this far this quickly. For example, the Fruit and Nut Party, Zara Sultana's party, with Jeremy Corbyn, is polling nowhere near this. And they've been in existence for a bit longer than Restore Britain. So this is a positive sign. And Reform UK should be worried. I would be worried if I was in Reform UK. I'm a Reform voter currently because there's nothing else on the table. Sarah Pochen is my MP, cards on the table, and I am a Restore Britain member. I'm a paid up member. And it's an arms race between these two parties on which one's going to be the most extreme offering for the right of centre voter in the next general election. So we're going to continue with some further information. Let's just have a look now. This specific poll was commissioned and paid for by Restore Britain itself. Restore Britain was explicitly named as a voting option, not lumped into other, where you've got to actually pick Restore Britain or input Restore Britain when you mark the option other. It comes from Find Out Now, a pollster that has run multiple waves for the party. Fieldwork was conducted from the 15th and 16th of April, released and announced today, or yesterday now being the 16th of April, from just over 2,000 GB adults. The question Restore Britain and your party as explicit prompted options on the main list, alongside the legacy parties, with results adjusted for turnout and don't know squeezed. Restore Britain scored 9%, up 1 point prior to the last poll in late March. This is important, and then we get into some further information here now. 17% of people who didn't vote in the last general election are now back on Restore Britain. 37% for Reform, 17% for Restore Britain. And as I say, for right of centre voters, this is only a good thing. This is where the conversation is, and this is where the Overton window is shifting in this United Kingdom. And further afield, across Europe, we want something different from the liberal post-war consensus. And voters demand it. We deserve a better class of politician. Then we continue with some further information which I'm going to get into now. Let's just see now. Let's have a look at this one here. The 48.22 million is all of the voters in the that were up for the last general election. Only 59% voted. And then the non-voter is 19.77 million. So the 17% of that 19 million is just over 3 million people. That's very significant, and as I say, there's a long time until the next general election. Now, why don't I mind that Restore Britain is commissioning its own polls? Because they're not going to get a fair crack from the legacy media, the legacy press, and legacy politicians. They're going to have to make their own way and feel their own way because they're not going to get a fair hearing in the controlled ecosystem of the legacy and establishment media. I'm going to give you an example. The warmonger and spin doctor Alistair Campbell put out a clip on his podcast with Tory Wet, I forget his name now, but it's about Rupert Lowe. So I'm going to play this now.
Rupert Lowe, I think, has genuinely what you and I would define as extreme views. When we talk about far right, far left, I think he has pretty extreme views.
I would say it's an extreme view for mass, unfettered immigration to this United Kingdom that nobody voted for. I would deem that extreme. I would deem it extreme to put out a dodgy dossier based on a lie, based on disinformation, which is purposely misleading people, not misinformation, which is accidentally. He did it on purpose, very much like the Emperor in Star Wars, alright? He did it on purpose, he knew what he was doing. and many British soldiers died because of his lies. I would say that's extreme, but that's an aside. I don't like this man. I do not trust this man. He should be in prison. I think it is a joke that he's got a podcast with Rory Stewart and he thinks that Rupert Lowe is extreme. That's disgusting.
I remember when he was chairman of Southampton Football Club, and because Clive Woodward worked there for a while and I knew him quite well, so Rupert Lowe asked me when Southampton were playing Burnley, he asked me to have lunch with him before the game, and I went and had lunch with him. And I think I recorded in my diary, I don't think I've ever met anybody quite as right-wing as this guy. He's very, very, very right-wing on the economy, on all sorts of things.
We'll leave that here. Just look at the grinning golem on the right. Okay, absolutely disgusting. We'll end this here. On the back of that, let's have a look at some of the extreme views that Restore Britain have, shall we? Some of the extreme views that I back, let's have a look at them, shall we? Restore Britain's key policies on mass deportations by removing entire illegal migration population from the United Kingdom, force NHS to employ British nationals over foreign nationals, abolish the asylum system, restore a pro-British and a positive British education system, repeal Online Safety Act, end political Islam. Apparently, according to Alistair Campbell, these are extreme views. Not really, I think these are quite moderate, nothing particularly extreme or controversial. The way most of the world acts, just not how we act in the demented Britain that we live in currently. Let's have a look at another extreme policy, shall we? Restore Britain will raise the default speed limit on motorways to 80 miles per hour and remove all arbitrary 20 mile per hour zones, except outside schools and areas where there are vulnerable individuals. Faster journeys, fewer delays, and more efficient supply chains. Again, I agree. The caveat, again, I agree with outside schools where the little kiddies are. You should have a reduced speed limit there. That's not a problem at all. But a blanket 20 mile speed limit in Wales is appalling. I think it's appalling, by the way. When I drive into Wales on the coast road, on the North Road, from Cheshire into North Wales, as soon as you hit Wales, it drops to 50 miles per hour for no reason at all. I think that's sick. I think that's out of order. Make the whole of Britain on the dual carriageways and the motorways 80 mile an hour. Not got a problem with that at all. Perfectly fine. Let's be honest, a lot of people do that as it is. If you've ever been on a motorway, you know people do that anyway. But you're never going to get a fair crack with Restore Britain in the legacy media, and I'm going to give you this example now, and I'll end on this example. This is an article from earlier in April. How the minimum wage capital Britain became a reform stronghold. That is the headline, and this is from a right-leaning paper, The Telegraph. When you get into the meat of the article, this is Boston, by the way. I think this is Richard Tice's seat. When you get into the meat of the article, it actually asks the voters in the area, who are they going to vote for in the next general election? And they don't say Reform UK, they say Restore Britain, which tells you everything you need to know about the average voter and the grassroots of Reform UK. They are bitterly disappointed with being let down by Reform. These are just my opinions, your mileage may vary. Now you let me know, do you think I'm being too harsh on Reform UK? Do you think I'm being too polite on Reform? Are you a voter for Reform that's sticking with them? Have you jumped over to Restore? There's lots to play for before the next general election. There's lots up in the air. I think the signs are encouraging, and at the very least it should focus minds within Reform UK headquarters to become a bit more hardline. However, there is going to be a lot of people that will not fall for the flip-flopping of Farage. Hope I've been balanced here. Like and subscribe, do all of that good stuff. I will see you in the next video. How far do you think Restore Britain can take it? Do you think they'll take it all the way? That's the question before the jury. Have a good day, and as always, thank you for your time.